The silent frequency. The monitoring station Galileo 7 drifted in the outer reaches of the Sol system, its sensors pointed toward the endless dark. For 3 years, it had listened to the cosmic whispers, cataloging pulsars and mapping gravitational waves. But on this particular Thursday, something different sang through the void. Dr. Sarah Chen floated in the observation chamber, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. The signal was wrong. Not wrong in the way of equipment failure or solar interference. Wrong in the way that made her spine tingle with the weight of possibility. It repeated every 17 seconds. A pattern too complex for nature, too deliberate for coincidence. "Marcus, get up here," she called through the comm system. Her voice carried the careful control of someone trying not to shout about something extraordinary. Marcus Williams, the station's engineer, arrived within minutes, his coffee bulb still in hand. He was a large man who moved with surprising grace in zero gravity, his dark skin gleaming under the artificial lights. "What have we got, Commander?" Sarah gestured to the main display. "Listen to this." She isolated the frequency and played it through the speakers. The sound filled the chamber like a mechanical heartbeat overlaid with harmonics that seemed almost musical. Marcus's eyes widened as he recognized what Sarah already knew. This was artificial. This was intelligent. "Point of origin?" Marcus asked, his coffee forgotten. 47 light-years out, near the Vestan reach. But here's the interesting part. Sarah pulled up another display. The signals modulated with what looks like mathematical constants. Pi prime numbers, but also something else. Something that looks like coordinates. The implications hung between them like a held breath. First contact protocols were clear. Report. Don't respond. Wait for Earth's approval. Follow the chain of command. But Sarah noticed something else in the data stream. Something that made her decision for her. "It's a distress call," she said quietly. "Look at the pattern decay. Whatever's sending this is losing power. The signal's been degrading for approximately 6 months, based on the carrier wave distortion." Marcus studied the data, his engineer's mind already working through possibilities. "So we're not the first to hear this. We're just the first to understand it." Sarah nodded. The rest of the station's crew needed to know. She activated the general comm. "All hands to the briefing room. We have a situation." Within 15 minutes, the entire crew of 12 had assembled. Sarah stood before them, the alien signal playing softly in the background. She explained what they'd found, watched as wonder, fear, and excitement played across their faces in equal measure. Dr. James Park, their xenobiologist, was the first to speak. "We have to respond. If this is genuine, if there's a ship in distress, the humanitarian imperative supersedes protocol." "It's not human," pointed out Lieutenant Commander Rosa Martinez, their security chief. "We don't know what we're dealing with. This could be a trap. Or it could be exactly what it appears to be," said Chen Wei, their communications specialist. "Someone asking for help. The question is, are we the kind of species that answers?" Sarah let the debate continue for several minutes before raising her hand for silence. "I've made my decision. We're going to respond. Not because protocol demands it, but because it's right. Because if we were out there, dying in the dark, we'd want someone to answer our call." She looked at each of them in turn. "I won't order anyone to come. This is volunteer only. We have the shuttle Endeavor. It's got enough range to make the journey if we modify the fuel systems and strip out non-essentials. We can be there in 8 weeks." One by one, hands raised. Marcus first, then Chen Wei, then James. Even Rosa, despite her reservations, lifted her hand. In the end, all 12 volunteered. The next 3 days blurred together in a symphony of preparation. Marcus worked 18-hour shifts modifying the Endeavor's engines, pushing their efficiency beyond manufacturer specifications. He installed additional fuel tanks in the cargo bay, sacrificing comfort for range. Chen Wei built a communication array based on the alien signals patterns, hoping to establish contact when they arrived. James Park studied every byte of data from the signal, building models of what kind of biology might create such mathematics. His theories ranged from silicon-based life to quantum consciousness, each more speculative than the last. Rosa drilled the crew on emergency procedures, preparing for every contingency from peaceful first contact to hostile engagement. Sarah coordinated it all while fighting her own doubts. She was violating direct orders by not waiting for Earth's response. The transmission lag meant Earth wouldn't even receive their report for another 3 days, and their response would take just as long. By then, the alien signal might have failed entirely. On the 4th day, they launched. The Endeavour separated from Galileo 7 with a gentle push of thrusters, then engaged its modified engines. The acceleration pressed them into their seats as they began the long journey to the Vestan reach. 2 weeks into the journey, they encountered their first problem. A micrometeorite no larger than a grain of sand punched through the hull and damaged one of the fuel recyclers. Marcus suited up and went outside to repair it, spending 6 hours in the vacuum welding patches and rerouting systems. He came back exhausted but triumphant. "That's why humans go to space," he said, floating in the airlock. "Not because we're the strongest or the smartest, but because we're too stubborn to quit when things go wrong." Week 3 brought a different challenge. The signal they were following began to fade faster than predicted. Chenwei worked frantically to boost their receivers, but the mathematics were clear. At the current rate of decay, the signal would die completely before they arrived. "We need to go faster," Sarah said, studying the projections. "We're already pushing the engines past redline," Marcus protested. "Any faster and we risk catastrophic failure." Sarah looked at the data again. The signal was more than just a distress call now. It was a test of humanity's character. Would they risk everything for strangers they'd never met? "Do it," she ordered. "Push them to 120%. The engines screamed in protest but held. The Endeavour surged forward, racing against time and physics. Every hour, Chenwei updated them on the signal's strength. Every hour, it grew weaker. In week 5, James made a breakthrough. Hidden in the signal's harmonics was what appeared to be biological data. Heart rates or something similar. Multiple life signs but growing weaker. "They're dying," he said simply. "Whatever they are, they're running out of time." This knowledge transformed the mission. It was no longer about first contact or scientific discovery. It was about rescue, pure and simple. Sarah ordered all non-essential systems shut down to squeeze more power to the engines. They flew in near darkness, saving every watt for propulsion. Week 6 brought hope. The signal, though weak, stabilized. Chenwei detected what might be a response to their approach, a slight modulation that seemed almost like recognition. "They know we're coming," she reported. "They're holding on." The crew felt the weight of that trust. Somewhere in the void, strangers were clinging to life because they believed someone would answer their call. And humanity had chosen to be that someone. Week 7 tested them all. A cascade failure in the navigation system forced them to fly manually, taking shifts to maintain course. Sleep became a luxury. Meals were eaten floating at their stations. But no one complained. They had come too far to fail now. Finally, after 53 days of travel, their sensors detected a ship. It was massive, easily 3 times the size of the Endeavour, but dark and drifting. Its hull showed signs of severe damage, great rents torn in the metal as if by cosmic claws. "Life signs?" Sarah asked. James checked his readings. Faint, but present. Multiple contacts, clustered in what looks like a central chamber. Sarah took a breath. This was the moment humanity had dreamed of and dreaded in equal measure. First contact, not in the controlled environment of Earth or a research station, but here, in the deep black, with lives hanging in the balance. "Take us in, Marcus. Nice and slow. Chenwei, begin broadcasting our peaceful intentions. Rosa, weapons powered but not targeted. We go in as friends, but we stay ready." The Endeavour approached the alien vessel with all the care of a surgeon. As they drew closer, details emerged. The ship's architecture was unlike anything human minds had conceived. Curves where humans would use angles. Organic flows where humans would build rigid structures. It was beautiful and alien in equal measure. A docking port, or what might serve as one, became visible. Marcus guided them in with delicate touches of the thrusters. The two ships met with a soft clang that resonated through both hulls. Sarah stood at the airlock, her team behind her. They wore environmental suits, but carried medical supplies instead of weapons. Whatever was on the other side of that door, humanity would meet it with open hands and willing hearts. The bridge between stars. The airlock hissed open, revealing a corridor that seemed to breathe. The walls pulsed with bioluminescent veins, casting shadows that moved like living things. Sarah stepped through first, her boots magnetic clamping, to a floor that felt more grown than built. Atmosphere's thin but breathable, Marcus reported, reading his suit sensors. Oxygen-nitrogen mix, just lower pressure than Earth normal. They moved forward in formation, following the strongest life signs. The corridor branched and twisted, following in logic that had nothing to do with human efficiency. Sarah wondered if the builders thought in 3 dimensions differently than humans, if up and down meant something else to them entirely. Chen, Wei's equipment chimed. I'm detecting response to our presence. The ship's systems are trying to communicate. She adjusted her translator, the device she'd built during their journey based on the signal's patterns. It's mathematical, but there's more. Emotional overtones, maybe? They reached a vast chamber and Sarah's breath caught. The room opened like the inside of a flower, with curved walls rising to a central point far above. But it was the beings within that stopped her heart. There were 7 of them, tall and impossibly thin, with skin that shifted between colors like oil on water. They had 4 arms each, delicate as spider silk but clearly capable of great dexterity. Their faces were angular, with 3 eyes arranged in a triangle. But those eyes held an intelligence that transcended any physical differences. One of them moved forward, its motion fluid despite obvious weakness. It raised one hand, palm out, a gesture so universally peaceful that Sarah nearly wept. She returned it, then slowly removed her helmet. The air was thin and cold with a metallic taste but breathable. The gesture had its intended effect. The alien's color shifted to what seemed like a warmer hue. I am Commander Sarah Chen, she said, knowing they couldn't understand her words but hoping her tone conveyed meaning. We heard your call. We're here to help. The lead alien spoke, its voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Chen Wei's translator worked frantically, finding patterns and connections. After a moment, broken words emerged from the speaker. You came grateful, dying. James pushed forward with his medical scanners. Commander, they're suffering from radiation poisoning. Their ship's shielding must have failed. He looked at the readings again. I can help them. The treatment's not that different from what we'd use on humans. Sarah nodded. Do it. As James worked, administering anti-radiation, drugs modified on the spot for alien biology, Chen Wei continued to refine the translation. The aliens, who called themselves the Corvani, had been explorers like humans. Their ship had been damaged by a cosmic event, a gamma-ray burst that had torn through their shields and poisoned their crew. We sent message, hope, someone. Anyone, the lead Corvani managed through the translator. We heard you, Sarah said. Humans don't leave anyone behind, not even people we've never met. Marcus had been examining the ship's damage with 2 of the healthier Corvani. He returned with a grim expression. Their main reactor's completely shot. Life support's running on backup power, maybe 2 days left. Their FTL drive is slag. Can we fix it? Sarah asked. Not with what we have, Marcus admitted. Then his face lit up with an idea. But we don't need to fix it. We can adapt our systems to theirs. Create a hybrid that'll get them home. Rosa stepped forward. Commander, that would mean giving them our technology. First contact protocols. Protocols be damned, Sarah interrupted. We're not letting them die out here. The next 30 hours became a testament to human ingenuity and determination. Marcus worked alongside Corvani engineers, using gestures and mathematics to communicate complex engineering concepts. They discovered that while Corvani technology was different, it wasn't incompatible. Where humans used circuits, the Corvani, used crystalline matrices. Where humans built with metal, the Corvani grew structures from programmable biomatter. But physics was physics, and energy was energy. Marcus found ways to interface human power cells with Corvani systems. He taught them the concept of redundancy, something their elegant designs had overlooked. They taught him about harmonic resonance in ways that would revolutionize human engineering. Chenwei made perhaps the greatest breakthrough. Working with the Corvani communication specialist, she developed a translation protocol that went beyond words. It captured intent, emotion, even humor. The first joke successfully translated between species was about the universal constant of engineers never having the right parts when they needed them. James's medical treatment proved successful. The Corvani began to recover, their colors brightening, their movements becoming more fluid. He learned that their biology was silicon-carbon hybrid, something xenobiologists on Earth had theorized but never proven possible. They could survive in environments that would kill humans, just as humans could endure conditions fatal to them. On the second day, disaster nearly struck. A power coupling Marcus had installed began to overload, threatening to destroy both ships. Without hesitation, one of the Corvani engineers and Marcus suited up and went into the damaged section together. The radiation levels were lethal, but they had minutes to fix the problem. Working in perfect synchronization despite the language barrier, they rerouted the power and stabilized the system. When they emerged, both were suffering from radiation exposure. James treated them both, human and Corvani medicine working together to save both lives. It was during Marcus's recovery that the real breakthrough came. The lead Corvani, who had introduced herself as Zilara, brought a device to Sarah. Through the translator, she explained it was a quantum communicator, capable of instant communication across any distance. "For you," Zilara said, the translator, now rendering her words almost perfectly. "You came when we called. You risked everything for strangers. This is trust, this is friendship." Sarah accepted the device with trembling hands. "This changes everything. Our worlds can talk now, learn from each other." "Yes," Zilara agreed. "But more important, our peoples can understand each other. You showed us something we didn't expect. You showed us that compassion crosses species." The repairs took another week. During that time, the two crews became more than allies. They became friends. Rosa taught Corvani security officers human martial arts. Discovering their forearms gave them advantages she'd never considered. They taught her a meditation technique that used harmonic frequencies to achieve focus. Chenwei and her Corvani counterpart wrote the first interspecies communication protocol, a framework for translation that would work for any language based on mathematics. James documented everything he learned about Corvani biology already, imagining the medical advances possible from their silicon-based healing techniques. But it was the personal connections that mattered most. Marcus and the engineer he'd saved, named Torvin, developed a friendship that transcended words. They communicated in the universal language of problem-solving, each learning from the other's approach. Sarah and Zilara spent hours discussing philosophy, leadership, and the burden of command. They discovered that despite their physical differences, their hopes and fears were remarkably similar. Both species wondered if they were alone. Both feared the dark between stars. Both chose to explore anyway. When the Corvani ship was finally repaired, it was no longer purely Corvani. Human technology was woven throughout, improving and strengthening their systems. Similarly, the Endeavour carried Corvani innovations that would revolutionize human spaceflight. The farewell was bittersweet. The two crews gathered in the Corvani's flowering chamber, now bright with restored power. Zilara presented Sarah with a crystalline storage device. "Our history," she explained. "Our art, our music, our stories. So you can know us as we wish to know you." Sarah reciprocated with a datapad containing humanity's greatest achievements. Mozart and mathematics, Shakespeare and science, all of human knowledge offered freely. "Will we see each other again?" Sarah asked. "Count on it," Zilara replied, having learned the human expression from Marcus. The universe is smaller now. Our peoples will meet again, and when they do, they'll meet as friends. As the Endeavour departed, Sarah watched the Corvani ship power up its repaired engines. It shimmered and vanished into FTL, heading home with IE, a story of the strange bipeds who answered a distress call and asked nothing in return. The journey back to Galileo 7 took 7 weeks, but it felt shorter. The crew was changed, energized by what they'd accomplished. They'd made first contact not with weapons or warnings, but with medicine and engineering. They'd proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology or determination, but its compassion. When they finally docked with Galileo 7, they found 100 messages from Earth. Orders, demands, congratulations, and condemnations in equal measure. Sarah ignored them all and composed her report. "We made contact," she wrote. "We found friends among the stars, and we learned that the most human thing we can do is help, even when that help is for someone we've never met, someone whose very existence we couldn't have imagined. This is who we are. This is who we choose to be." The quantum communicator, activated a week later, Zilara's voice coming through clear despite the impossible distance. "We're home," she said simply. "Our people want to meet yours. You saved 7 lives, but you've given hope to billions. The bridge between our stars is built. Will you help us cross it?" Sarah looked at her crew, saw the answer in their eyes. Before she spoke it, "We'll be there. Humans are good at building bridges. It's what we do." And in the vast dark between stars, 2 species reached toward each other, no longer alone, no longer afraid. The universe had become a smaller, warmer place, and it had started with a single answered call, a single act of human kindness that echoed across the cosmos. The story of the Vestan Reach would be remembered not as humanity's first contact, but as humanity's first friendship among the stars. And that, more than any technology or treaty, would define the future of both species for generations to come.